Good evening. A new wave of strikes has hit the Iranian capital on the second day of the US and Israel offensive. Donald Trump has now confirmed the first US casualties. 3 American troops killed, and he warned there will likely be more. Iran says while some of its military commanders have been killed, nothing has changed in regards to Tehran's military capability. In other major developments, the US president has vowed to continue military operations in Iran until, quote, all objectives are achieved. An Iranian missile has killed at least 9 people in the Israeli city of Beirut. Travel chaos in the Middle East continues for tens of thousands of people, and the conflict widens with Israel striking Beirut as Hezbollah enters the conflict. Tehran has borne the brunt of the latest strikes by the US and Israeli military, while Iran has sustained its missile and drone strikes across the region. Hundreds of Iranian missiles have been fired in retaliation at several US military bases in the Gulf states, including port facilities and key international airports. One of the major international trade routes, the Strait of Hormuz, has also been targeted, with shipping traffic at a near standstill. But first, we take you to Iran.
A fireball erupts in Tehran's night sky. Iranian state TV headquarters at the centre of the news rather than broadcasting it. Plumes of smoke filling the capital for a second day as the US and Israel continued their bombing campaign. Iran vowing revenge, saying more than 200 people have been killed in the strikes, including a number of senior figures and the Islamic Republic's supreme leader.
We are defending ourselves, and we have every right, every legitimate right to defend ourselves. What the United States is doing is an act of aggression.
He insists Iran remains open to diplomacy, but warns that its ability to retaliate remains intact.
We have lost some commanders, that is a fact. But another fact is that nothing has changed in our, military capability.
Donald Trump says US forces have destroyed and sunk 9 Iranian Navy ships. He also confirmed 3 US military service members have now been killed in action and 5 seriously wounded, but didn't reveal where or how.
As one nation, we grieve for the true American patriots who have made the ultimate sacrifice, and sadly, there will likely be more. Before it ends, that's the way it is. Likely be more, but we'll do everything possible where that won't be the case. But America will avenge their deaths and deliver the most punishing blow to the terrorists who have waged war against basically civilization.
The Israeli military releasing footage showing its strikes on Tehran and western parts of the Islamic Republic, also hitting Iranian F-4 and F-5 fighter jets said to be preparing for takeoff from the country's northwest.
Our message to the Iranian regime is clear. We will know how to reach everyone. No one is immune.
In Tehran, support for the regime on display, a candlelit vigil held in honour of Iran's supreme leader.
Nothing will happen to this country. We will not let anything happen. God willing, we will help the government so that nothing happens.
The exiled son of Iran's last Shah claims he is taking charge of the transition to a new government.
This is like full decapitation of the regime, and ultimately what will expedite its total collapse.
Analysts not so sure.
But this is wishful thinking because the Iranian regime is deeply entrenched, deeply benched, and in contrast, the Iranian people are unarmed, unorganized, fragmented, and don't have the kind of leadership that is required to be able to hold the country together.
As the war widens, getting a clear picture inside Iran is getting increasingly difficult, with a near total internet blackout in place since the weekend. Virginia Langerberg, SBS World News.
Well, joining me now from Tel Aviv is our chief international correspondent, Ben Lewis. Good evening, Ben. Another front in this war appears to be opening.
That's right, Janice. Good evening. In the early hours of this morning, Hezbollah fired a very small number of rockets into northern Israel. They say they were trying to target an Israeli military facility just south of Haifa, and it was in retaliation, in response to the death of Iran's supreme leader. As expected, Israel has responded with overwhelming force, conducting a series of airstrikes, not just in southern Lebanon, but also in the southern suburbs of Beirut, the capital. The area is a Hezbollah stronghold. Many of its senior leaders are based there. The Lebanese Health Ministry has said that 31 people have already been killed, with 149 injured. There has been a shaky ceasefire in place between Israel and Hezbollah since 2024, engineered by the United States. That said, Israel has been striking Hezbollah targets on an almost weekly basis since that was negotiated. The Lebanese government had been almost begging with Hezbollah not to get involved in this war, fearful of the consequences for Lebanese civilians. Meanwhile, here in Israel, rescue crews remain at the scene of the deadliest Iranian missile strikes so far in this conflict. At least 9 people were killed when a missile struck a synagogue in Bet Shemesh near Jerusalem. A direct hit that wiped out several buildings in this residential area.
The world knows that the Iranian regime is used to targeting their own civilians, and here the world can also see it doesn't differentiate with other nations' civilians either.
Rescue crews pulling body after body from the rubble. Scenes that remind Israelis of the reality of this war, that even with the world's best air defences, there will be casualties here, possibly many of them. It appears the strike's point of impact was a synagogue's safety shelter. The majority of the dead had been inside.
מאחורינו, שמעליו היה מבנה בית כנסת, המבנה בית כנסת נעלם ונמחק כלא היה. מבנה בית כנסת ותיק מאוד, מיקומה של העיר בית שמש.
In central Tel Aviv, survivors of this deadly strike came to collect what could be salvaged from their apartments. One woman was killed here, a carer from the Philippines. She didn't reach a shelter in time. The impact of a single ballistic missile is quite extraordinary. This is the crater it left. It's about 3 or 4 metres deep, and the power the blast has, it has just torn these buildings in half. Windows 200 metres away were blown out, a terrifying experience for those nearby.
We were underground, like 2 flights underground. It was a huge sound of bomb. Actually, the whole basement shook. I immediately understood it's very close by.
Unusually, Jerusalem has also been in the firing line. As sirens sounded and Iranian missiles were intercepted, lighting up the sky. One bypassed air defence systems, injuring 6 people. Israel's politicians telling the public the costs of this war will be worth it in the long term.
Stay strong. This is a historic effort to change the trajectory in the Middle East to a different future, a future of peace.
But at the moment, peace feels a long way off. That being said, it has been an unusually quiet night here in Israel. No red alerts from 11 p.m. till about 7 a.m, certainly something that didn't happen during last year's 12-day war. Meanwhile, confirmation now that overnight an attack drone hit a British military base in Cyprus. It's understood that the damage was minimal. There were no casualties, but non-essential staff at that base, as well as the families of British service members, are being evacuated as we speak. This attack drone, the source of which is not clear at this stage, was sent not long after British Prime Minister Keir Starmer confirmed that British military bases can now be used by American forces for what London is describing as defensive operations only. And Janice, it's understood in the next few days the French government is going to send 2 warships to the region, also to be used only in what are described as defensive operations.
Thanks so much. That's our chief international correspondent, Ben Lewis, updating us from Tel Aviv. Iran has struck at least 6 US military facilities around the Middle East since the conflict began. It's also hit several civilian locations, such as airports and ports. The widening hostility has also energised the region's Shiite population, who have taken to the streets in their thousands.
Iranian missiles aimed at US military bases across the Gulf, from Bahrain's capital, Manama, where satellite pictures show the damage, and to Erbil in Iraq, where an Iranian-backed militia, the Islamic Resistance, said it struck American bases with drones and rockets. While most of the targets were military, some were civilian centers, such as airports, hotels, and residential areas. This strike on this industrial area in the city of Sharjah in the United Arab Emirates, and on Jebel Ali, one of the biggest and busiest ports in the Middle East. Satellite photos showing clearly the damage wrought by Iranian missiles. Abu Dhabi's main port, the Zayed port, also hit by a drone that damaged a hangar at a French naval base there. The city of Dubai under attack as well. Its airport, one of the busiest in the world, targeted. Passengers stranded with no news of when they would resume their journey. Across the region, passions aflame as Shiite Muslims came out in their thousands to protest the death of Iran's supreme leader. In cities across Iraq, such as Basra and Najaf, crowds carrying a symbolic coffin expressing both anger and grief at the American action. While in the capital, Baghdad, protesters clashing with police as they attempted to vent their collective fury. Protests turning deadly in Pakistan, where scores were killed, attempting to breach the US consulate in the southern city of Karachi. Demonstrators, some armed, beaten back by security forces. Protesters shouting anti-American slogans as they made their displeasure known. In neighboring India, Shiite Muslims there holding their own vigil, articulating their support for the late Iranian supreme leader.
He's alone who stood against imperial powers in the world full of pedophiles, in the world who are baby eaters. He stood till the last drop of his blood. He did not bow down.
Similar sentiments in Muslim-dominated Malaysia, where protesters laid the blame squarely on Donald Trump.
The reason why I'm here today is to call out the terrorist aggression against the Islamic Republic of Iran. The United States, the so-called President of the United States, who is not truly the President of the United States, engaged in an unconstitutional act of aggression.
And in Nigeria, where several hundred people came out in solidarity with Iran. But perhaps the most passionate support was displayed in Lebanon, where Hezbollah and its supporters view Iran's supreme leader as their supreme religious and political authority. With an outpouring of despair and fury, they came out in their thousands to declare his killing a criminal act and to chant death to America.
لما بيستشهد السيد القائل شو ما راح مننا ما هو في شيء في سبيل الله ما كان لله ينمو هي آخر رسالتنا ونحن ما بنركع إلا لله.
Similar sentiments from Yemen, whose Houthi leadership has been instrumental in recent years of hitting maritime traffic in the area. Iran's Revolutionary Guards shutting down the strategic shipping lane in the Strait of Hormuz on Saturday, where at least 3 ships have been attacked in recent days. The European Union sending reinforcements into the region. Edmund Roy, SBS World News.
And those regional tensions are disrupting global energy supplies. For more, Liz Maddock joins us now in the studio. So Liz, how long might it be before some of these effects are felt here?
Well, Janice, Australian motorists are being advised to fill up before petrol prices spike. The implications on the Australian economy are mixed. Now, this is the narrow but critical oil choke point that connects the region's biggest producers to the world. Now, these countries ship about 15 million barrels of crude oil through the Strait of Hormuz each day. That's about 20% of the world's supply. But now Iran has effectively closed the strait. Around this time on Friday, before the US and Israel attacked Iran, oil was trading at $70 a barrel. Now, since then, it struck a high of $82 in a knee-jerk reaction. It has since calmed, currently around $78. Now, the question is, what impact could a prolonged conflict have? On Sunday, OPEC Plus agreed to increase output by a modest 206,000 barrels a day to cushion price rises. Now, this likely won't help much. Some analysts warn oil could go above $100. Now, in Australia, that would drive up petrol prices by up to 40 cents a litre. But the advice today is...
Please do not panic. In the first instance, whatever happens overseas takes about 7 to 10 days to flow on here at home. So we should not see an impact at the Bowser immediately, and only then if things are sustained over a period of time and we don't see that jump stabilise and prices come back again. The other message we have is to the oil companies. Do not use this as an excuse to jack up your prices.
A fifth of the world's LNG also passes through the Strait of Hormuz. Now, while Australian exporters could stand to benefit, it can also push domestic energy prices higher and potentially could cause a bigger inflation headache for the Reserve Bank, which may be forced to take action with further interest rate hikes. Janice.
We'll see you a bit later in On the Money. Thanks, Liz. The Foreign Minister says around 115,000 Australians are currently in the Middle East as airspace remains closed. But Penny Wong would not confirm whether the government will be able to facilitate repatriation flights for those still stranded in the region. Virgin Australia has today cancelled at least 6 flights to Qatar's capital today, while Qantas says there's currently no impact to its operated flights.
I'm actually so scared. I'm in JDC right now.
Australians across much of the Middle East and across social media in shock as they document a war unfolding.
This is from my hotel balcony.
Penny Milton is one of those currently in the region. The wife of 6-time Paralympian Michael Milton was supposed to fly from Doha to Venice to support him in the upcoming Milano Cortina Paralympics. But then her flight was redirected back to Doha and she received this missile alert. Then another as we started to speak.
Hang on a second, just going to interrupt for a second because we're getting a missile alert. Okay.
Is everything okay?
That's the first missile alert we've had in probably over 24 hours, and I'm on the 27th floor and my kids are downstairs having breakfast.
With tickets for herself and her children cancelled, she has many questions unanswered, including how long she'll be at her hotel in Doha. There are airspace closures around the Gulf states, including Iran, Iraq, Israel, the UAE and Qatar. Major airlines also restricting flights. The chaos also disrupting travellers trying to visit Australia.
We don't know yet how things will proceed. We want to go to Australia, to Brisbane, and we'd have to fly via Dubai.
Penny Milton says she's trying to stay optimistic.
We're just focusing on getting a flight to Europe. We really are in danger at this point, but if we are in danger, then I would expect the Australian government to step in.
But the Foreign Minister unable to confirm repatriation flights with airspace closed.
The best way to get them home would be for commercial flights to return. I have today asked the Department of Foreign Affairs to ensure that our registration process is opened to people in the UAE and Qatar.
The peak travel industry body says around 11,000 Australians are impacted by travel disruptions, urging people not to cancel their flights yet until seeking advice.
Allow the airline to work through what those arrangements are, and if they cancel that flight, you will be eligible for a full refund